Welcome back. This is Newsgang. We're talking about the changes in government that were announced this evening. And, there's the issue of cost because, like we've said, there are 7 new state departments. And a state department is typically headed by a principal secretary. And that comes...
with a cost.
Yes, it comes with all these frills, Sam.
Yes, so according to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, a principal secretary has a gross salary of 792,519 shillings. This is way before other allowances that they may get. If they are entitled to airtime, they're entitled to travel allowances, the daily subsistence allowance when they travel. But upon getting to the office, they also deserve or are entitled to an official car of up to 3,000 cc. They have a medical benefit of 10 million shillings inpatient, and of course the outpatient varies and the maternity cover varies. For retirement package, once they are hired, they can opt for either a pension program or a gratuity of 31% of their annual earnings that are pensionable. In short, this means the basic salary of a principal secretary times the number of months, which is 12, 31% of that.
Like 7 months?
7 is the key.
Or for the period of time that they work as principal secretaries, because that may change depending on the interest of the appointing authority. Now, there are PSs who get a responsibility allowance of 100,000 shillings per month. These are PSs in the Departments of Interior, National Treasury, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the extra duties that they have to execute. Then there's a group life insurance, which is equivalent to the basic pay of these principal secretaries times 3 years, in case something happens to them. There's something else. They're entitled to a car loan of 8 million shillings, a PS. They're entitled to a mortgage of 35 million shillings. And of course, the rate applying is 3%, repayable during the period of time that they are there. There's something else that we were talking about. You spoke about the Ministry of Trade and the changes it has had. There's also a ministry of forgetting, former Professor Kisiangani's ministry, ICT. So after the 2022 election, the CS was Eliud Owalo.
Yes.
He left, and his place was taken by Dr. Margaret.
He moved.
Ndungu.
Yes.
She was moved to Ghana.
He moved. Just Eliud Owalo moved.
He left the ministry and joined the government delivery unit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then Dr. Margaret Ndungu was appointed, but removed.
And moved to Ghana.
But
she didn't
take the position so as to create a space for William Kabogo. So 3 ministers have headed that department, that ministry. If you left the country in December 2022 and you went back to the ministry, and you wanted to see the CS and the PS broadcasting, you'll find different people because you didn't... and
Margaret Ndungu was like a blink.
Exactly. It was extremely short. So there's someone also who was asking about what happens to Eliud Owalo. And of course, he has not been affected by these changes, but he's running a different department of government delivery unit.
Yes.
Initially, that was being done by the performance management unit that was under the Ministry of Public Service. Veronica Nduva left for ESC, and therefore he was responsible for this. The other person who has been affected in these changes is Engineer Peter Tum, who you will recall, like I had explained earlier, was the Ministry of Health, Medical Services at the time that there was a controversy.
But wasn't he at sports before?
No.
Or the sports came after?
Sports came after.
Okay.
Came after, and that's the department he has left now.
Yes.
To go to, is it Kinshasa?
Yes, Kinshasa.
Yeah. So at that time, Josephine Mburu was the principal secretary in charge of public health.
Yes.
She was dropped.
Yes.
And
during that scandal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's another PS who resigned after she had expressed interest. After he declined to move to this particular department. That's why you have Mary Muthoni there. So all those changes, Engineer Peter Tum left the Ministry of Health amidst controversy, went to the Ministry of Sports. There have been a few things going on at the sports department with the preparations for CHAN and other the preparation of other stadiums in the country. Now he leaves for the embassy to go and manage the country's interest in that area.
Is your head spinning right now?
Yes.
Because mine is like, I'm dizzy. But Jamila, this is all pointing to Something bigger, yeah.
You know, Yvonne, if you look at the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, it had 10 points, right? Point number 9 was this: stopping wastage of public resources and promoting government efficiency. A new ethos of public expenditure in both national and county governments must be inculcated in a manner that promotes austerity, justification, and effectiveness in the use of public resources. We've created new state departments. As you said, no one has been fired. Tumeongeza watu. Some have been moved. There's a cost to that. You've told us how much it costs.
Yep.
But then, Gituku, when we look back at promises that President William Ruto made after the Gen Z protests in June, remember, Yvonne, we had the cabinet was dissolved on 11th of July. And we only had Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi left, and the then Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And then on, I think it was 19th of July, he announced a partial cabinet after weeks of so there were about, I think, he announced 11 appointments, which included 6 members from the previous cabinet. And then come August 2024, this is the time when tunaanza kuona ushirikiano kati ya Raila na Ruto. That's the time he nominated John Mbadi, CS Treasury, Rebecca Miano, CS Tourism, Opiyo Wandayi, CS Energy. Remember, during this period, Rebecca Miano had been appointed Attorney General at some point, and then akakuwa moved. And then Kipchumba Murkomen was made CS Youth Affairs before he was moved in December 2024 to become the Minister for Interior. Why am I going back to all this? It's because at the time when President William Ruto, after the Gen Z protest, he made some promises. One of them was kupunguza gharama in terms of government spending and government expenditure. And another thing that he promised was he would reduce the number of advisors by 50%. Today, Dr. Kisiangani has joined his long list of advisors. And at the time when we were talking about 50%, we didn't even know how many advisors there were.
Don't forget Moses Kuria also joined.
Moses Kuria also joined. I mean, there was a time when we had the close allies of Raila Odinga, Dr. Adam Zolo, Dr. Joe Aguirre, Dr. Sylvester Okumu, Kasuku, Major Retired Ali Mahat Somane, all those also appointed as advisors. Kuongezeka kwa wale who were originally there. And there was already this whole hue and cry over how much it cost to actually have those advisors. There was a whole war on
slightly more than the cabinet now?
Yeah, they could be, because we don't know exactly how many they are. You're told we'll reduce it by 50%, and then a few months later you go and add those. I think out of all the promises that were made, all those proclamations he made at the time when the country was going through that situation, I think the only one that imebakia yenye hajagusa is appointing the CASs. CASs. Nisikumbushane hiyo. That's the only one that is left, if you ask me. So those announcements he made, kupunguza gharama, cutting costs, looking at government expenditure, trainings and appointments and travel and buying furniture and appointing and reducing the number of advisors by 50%, is what is shafuto. So the only one last man or woman standing in the list of CAS is. Yeah, just to put.
Okay, and so guys, because I want us to move to Meru, but before that, maybe as a harbinger of things to come, there's one man who has been speculated, but even today he had something to say. Maybe there's more changes on the way. There's one man mwenye anakaa ngumu kama gumo, as they used to say. Listen.
Tumesema kama serikali kwamba hatuungi mkono jambo la utekaji nyara na pia mateso na wengine hata kuuliwa kwa binadamu hapa nchini. Sasa ule mtu ambaye anakashifu jambo hilo ndiye anatakiwa kutoka ama ni yule ni nani anatakiwa kutoka? Ule ambaye ananiambia nitoke basi anasema anaunga mkono utekaji nyara na kuua watu kiholela kinyume cha sheria. Nani hapo anatakiwa kuwajibika?
To be continued. Let's see what happens in the next, because I have no doubt that, like we said around this table, that was a preliminary list. But he's staying put, at least for now. But we also know what the majority leader said somewhere, in an interview somewhere on some international platform.
When you know about that, I think it's the National Construction Authority that places marks, a very big X marks on a building.
Yes.
And, you keep driving past there and you find that mark is still there and the building is there.
And the construction work continues.
And the construction work continues. So, yeah. That's what's going on here.
Yes.
Is that big X?
Yes.
Yeah, someone is working with it. Yeah.
I've thought of a big biblical
Target
tale,
practice.
but no, yes, but that's once for another day. But in Meru, there was a savings celebration. Was that this week? My goodness, so
Yeah.
many things have
This
happened.
week, yeah.
It was
It's on
this
Monday.
week, yes.
Yeah.
It just feels